Okay, I know you guys are gonna think this is kind of creepy because it just so happens that it's raining today. It just so happens I was up here. I wasn't even expecting it to rain, but I do got kind of a treat for you guys because I'm kind of just over it. The government already knows about the location and everything, but as you can see, there is no dirt, right? There's no dirt in this area. This is all city. Here's the back door that goes to the other area that you have to go through, which has a long hallway and stuff. And as you can see, no dirt. It's all concrete. And I'm sorry, my stuff is getting wet here. This is actually where everything took place with the Draconian. I'm showing you this full now. Here's the front doors to the other side of the building. That's why I said it's a big building. It's not just one small building. There's no dirt. There's no dirt. There's no dirt here. So when I say there's no dirt, I really mean that there's no way that anybody could have came through the hallway and show no dirt. And this is actually, this is where my school was at. This is it right here. You know, I got a friend with me up here, but I'm gonna show you guys the rest of it in a minute. But as you can see, in this area, there is no dirt around here at all. So when you go, I'm showing you 100, all the way around this building. All the way over here, and then all the way out here. And then, if you look here, you guys can kind of see, this was my karate school. This is where it was at. And back there, back over there is the door where the Draconian came in. And as I said, you know, for it to come in over there, it didn't come in from the dirt, right? It didn't come in from outside. There, oh, there you go. You can see better now. It didn't come from outside. It came from, so as you see here, the other side of the building. But it didn't actually come from the other side of the building. It phased through the door. In other words, on this side of the building, all this stuff over here, which is on the other side of the door, is another part of the building, right? Like it's more rooms. Okay, and I'm going to show you one more time now. It stopped raining. I'm going to show you one more time the building, and yeah, and it had ADT, and you guys already saw my thing on that, and you can see that this is all city area. There is no like beach dirt type stuff like what you saw on the floor. It's all grassed in, all city area. So it wasn't like, and I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time. It wasn't like the because the rain finally stopped. It wasn't like there was, you know, it came in through the back door and came off of some dirty ass, you know, ground. This is all concrete, and you just can't, there's just no way, you know, and that door is not even, you have to go through this door and then down and then up a hallway that way and then all the way down that way across another hallway past the bathroom to get to the door to where the Draconian came in. You just can't, you see what I'm saying? And so even if you said that they came in through here, right, like that's not enough dirt to have some shit that much heavy of dirt, you know. That's just like, that's nothing, you know. That's nothing at all. That's not even possible. Because look, I'm gonna put my foot here and there's not, it's not like what it was over there, how heavy that was. So, and yeah, the building is for sale now. I don't know if the old guy who owns the building, I don't know if he sold it or he passed away, because he's very old. And when I said I was done, he literally told me, you know, I will give you he's like if you're having a hard time, you know, with getting students, I'll give you 2 months free. So he literally offered me 2 months free to stay in this place. And I said no. I said, you know, I already kind of got another place, which I didn't. I lied, and I was done, you know. And like I said, there's nothing around here, right? Like there's nothing in this area that's dirt, and this is it. So for you to, like I said, for you to get through that back door, you would have to go through this. That back door comes to about here. Well, actually, it's connected. That back door is connected to this room here. you have to walk down a hallway through here, down this hallway, to get to that place, to get to where my door is, which would be here. That's how far you'd have to walk to get through that door back there that I showed you. It's not possible. It's not physically possible, especially with the dirt that was on the floor. It's just not physically possible, guys, because there was no dirt on the hallway. And if you haven't watched that video with the testimony video of my ex-wife who came up that very day, and she looked at it, we investigated, me, her, and somebody else, another student, investigated the whole hallway, and there was no dirt anywhere at all. And the door, you couldn't get through the door's locked, my ADT was active, I show receipts for that. It's just not possible. It's just not possible. So yeah, this is where it was at. Now you see that back door, the door that's back there, this door, that's not where it came in at. The Draconian came in from the side door over here. This back door right here goes to this little alleyway here, and there is no dirt there. It's all of that. That's what it is. You see how tight that is? It's not even, there's nothing that you can do in there. In fact, if I could get up there, I could look down and show you that that's all roots and it's all vines. So that door never opened. It's never opened since the time I've been here. I tried getting it open, it never opened. So yep, so that's it, guys. I figured I'd share that with you since I'm actually over here in town right now, and that's where it happens. And ever since then, nobody's rented this building. Now it's up for sale. And one more thing I want to point out, because it doesn't really matter anymore, because the government already knows about this place. They know where it happened. Sometimes there was this upstairs part, and sometimes I would hear stuff up there, but it was impossible. We went up there and investigated. It was impossible to get in. You couldn't, there's no way anybody could get in up there. We checked it all out. So it wasn't just a one-off for the Draconians when they come there. They were obviously coming, you know, in the school, you know, in the building, sometimes here and there. And there's been times I've seen like something up there, and I'm not into ghost stories and stuff. In fact, I never was afraid, not once. So this isn't like some kind of ghost story. I know it's kind of creepy right now, but I never once was afraid of being in there. Never afraid of what was going to happen because of the nature of who I am and what I do as a martial artist. I just wasn't scared. But yeah, this is it. The more I use that pole, the more I would move around my hands got ripped all the way up. My hands were bleeding, and they were bloody, and they were red. And I tell you what, I learned how to use that freaking staff really quick. So I had to learn a hard lesson and actually use the bow staff. Now, did you go in the closet and pull out a little toothpick, or go in the bathroom and pull out a little toothpick and say, here, use this? No, he pulled out something that would be kind of similar to like a broom, like a mop handle or something. Or an actual something that would be more like a weapon. But he came out with a metal pole, okay? Just like if you find on a construction site or somewhere. So that's what you want to do. You want to practice, in my opinion, I would practice with something that's more like a real weapon and not something that's more like a toy. In case you missed it, you really like watching me break that one staff. I gotta have fun breaking the staff. You know what? I think I want to break one more because I realized that we had an extra one sitting here in the dojo, and it needs to be broken too. Why keep it around? It's not a real weapon. This is a real weapon. It's a real snap. Hey, what's up everybody? Radix here, the one from 72, and yep, tonight is the final night. This is the end of all the videos that I'm going to be doing. I may be pushing out one final one or two small ones before this night's up, but this is the last of the big ones. I'm not going to have enough time to push up the recap of the entire year with all the stuff that I've been through this year with going through all the Truth Quest and how I realized that I was the Alcor Star Child and all that. So Look, you just have to do your research on your own. Just go back and watch all the stuff if it matters to you. I don't really think this really matters to anybody else anyhow, even though here I am showing evidence, and I've had, people leave their testimonies and everything else, but it doesn't seem like anybody really cares besides the government, so whatever. Anyhow, so this picture that you're looking at right now is actually the footprints. Now you can see that the footprints, you can see the stride in between of them. So I'm just pretty much going to break some stuff down just going to break some things down for you guys here. But you can see the stride in the footprints. Do you see how the one up top and then there's the one down at the bottom? So you can see pretty much the width of, how the stride is, which means that would tell you kind of how tall the being is. Now, if you look at the footprints themselves, you can see that the footprints are small, right? So obviously it's smaller, lower end and then whatever. So you can pretty much tell by the stride of how tall the being would be, which is a female draconian. I'm almost positive of that. And also you can tell in the footprints that they're not consistent. In other words, they're not a hard, heavy stamp. So it wouldn't be considered a hoof or something that somebody just kind of concocted to make, right? So, and you can tell that by looking here. So if you see there, those footprints there, you can see on the black mat where those footprints are, slightly, it's the same size and everything like that, but they're not exactly the same. Like I explained before, like if you walk on the beach, right, with your feet, because with your bare feet, then you can see how your footprints are slightly different all the time. So it tells me that what I'm saying is that the feet were flesh, right? They're fleshy feet. They're not of a harder substance, and we can tell that because of the fact of, like I said, the way the weight is on the footprint. You can see at that bottom footprint down there, actually, where you can just see kind of like the one part, not the other part. You can tell that's the way she was kind of leaning on. So it's more heavier on the footprint on the front, because you can see how here the stride stops. Like these two footprints are side by side. In other words, when she came through, she walked around that combat dummy and she stood there for I don't know how long, right, staring at me while I'm sleeping before she walked. You can see with the strides where she walked over to where I was sleeping out on the floor. So we can see that the two footprints are side by side, and the one up top is a heavier print, right, and the one on the lower side there is a lighter print, and it's actually a little bit more heavier towards the side near where the other heavy one is. So that tells me that most of her weight was leaning towards that side. So she wasn't like, both feet weren't completely solid, the same, stamped out there. So you could tell the weight was leaning more towards that side. So when she came around there, you can obviously tell she was probably trying to be kind of quiet, and then she stopped at that point, because you could see where the strides come from up top in the top of the picture, where you could see how she's just coming in through the school, walked around the combat bomb dummy there, and then just stopped and stood there for a little while. I don't know how long. I have no idea. I don't know how long this all went on for. So let's take a look at the next picture. And this picture here is where you can see the heaviest footprint. And the heaviest dirty footprint is when she first comes through the door, right? Like when she first comes through is where the heaviest dirt is. Now, here's something else you need to understand. These beings are extremely intelligent, right? So she would not leave footprints behind just to, and leave evidence like this behind, right? There's a reason why they leave evidence behind. And I'm going to show in a minute here where there's other footprints. The reason why I'm saying, hey, it's a draconian as well. Not just because of stuff that 1010 said or the things that I had, pretty much figured out, okay, this is what it is. But you look at the footprints, and I'm going to show that in a minute. If you look at the footprints from the Jersey Devil, it's the same footprint. And when they talk about the Jersey Devil looks like, and also 1010 said, the ribs are wrapped around, you found, hey, what, those are wings and the tail and everything. So it's the same thing, same being. But you can see where the heaviest footprint here is in the back of the room where it comes through. And if you look just past that, where the carpet is, from my from the mats to the carpet, you don't see any dirt there or anything at all. Now, I am going to show you something in a minute, so people don't, right here on this picture, so people don't get confused that that if you look down here at the bottom, like the closest down there, you'll see that there is like this kind of this wider look that there, you know, that's actually bleach. Let me just make that clear, okay? Because we always bleach these floors. It's karate school. I make sure my school is very clean. We bleach the floors every day. And that was from one of the students who was bringing the bucket in from the to mop the floor, and they spilled some bleach on that carpet. Now that carpet isn't really the cleanest carpet, but it's not dirt. There's not like big heavy dirt. Like, I'm gonna back up real fast so you can look at that other picture, the previous one. You see the heavy dirty footprint there? And then if you go back to this picture, you can see that, you know, look, it's not heavy dirt over there. That's, you know, that it's carpet. It's a carpeted area, and that's what I was explaining about how far you got to go through before you get to that other door. So that's really where, you know, she phased through. And so in other words, on the other side of that door, there was no footprints. So we're gonna move on here. If you look at the on the door frame there, and I'm gonna explain something about that too in a minute as well, about the door frame size. But if you look at the door frame there right in the middle, you can see the bolt for the door, the inside of the door. That's the same type of, like if you put a latch lock on your garage door outside and you turn it and you put a padlock in, that's exactly what that is. And almost always I turn that and put a, believe it or not, a sai. If you don't know what that is, it's a martial arts weapon. Just look it up. I'm not going to explain it. But I always would put a sai in that. I used to put a screwdriver in there, but then I found out, hey, a sai actually fits in there. It makes it kind of cool. So I put a sai in there and turn it. So that way, even if somebody tried to, you know, pry the door open like Jimmy the Lock or something from the other side, if that was ever to happen, they still wouldn't get through there. They'd have to actually kick the door through and break that door through and knock that door jamb out to get that, to get through there. And also I had ADT, and that door was ADT alarm protected. So the ADT was on there as well. The next picture that you're looking at here are the marks on the wall. And these are only marks on the wall. You'll see the one on this side of the door frame, and you'll see on the door jamb, and you'll see, and that's just above where the lock is. And you see the other mark on the other side of the door, and I'm going to show you that one too in a minute. But if you look at this mark and you look at it really close, you can see, like before we didn't understand if that was a finger or it was a horn. We're like, well, maybe it's a horn, but it just didn't make any sense, because you see how it kind of gets real heavy right there in the beginning, like how it's like an arrowed out and then it swoops up in the back. It wasn't until 1010 said that the being that was on me had a tail that I realized that, hey, this was the reason why it's heavy there and swooped in the back, is because as the being had already cleared the doorway and came through, its tail smacked the door frame, smacked the door jamb there, and as it smacked the door jamb, it's always going to be heavier from whenever you do something like that. You should already be able to figure this out. It's always going to be like if you leave a smudged fingerprint and you swipe your fingerprint, it's always going to be heaviest in the point of origin where the print happened. Well, the point of origin here where the tail smacked was there, and it went across and up, so its tail was obviously whipping up. And that's another thing too, right? Like, we couldn't understand what that substance was, but so my thoughts are, is when she came through this portal, and when she came there to unlock my mind, and whatever that substance is that's on the door frame was probably covered all over her tail. Maybe not, you know, all over her whole body or anything like that, but in this one specific thing here, you could tell that that was a different type of substance, and that substance was probably something that she had brought with her from whatever realm she came through, or whatever, you know, other part of the of our planet or area of our planet, or from another planet, or from a starship. Wherever she came from and she came through, she brought this substance on her tail, because that's obviously how they use it to, you know, go inside somebody's mind and do what she did, you know, which was unlock my brain, which is, you know, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, because, you know, obviously you guys already know if you've been paying attention to my videos. And I'm just zooming in here on the next picture so you could get a better look at it, so you can see that it is triple layered, right? Like if you look at that, you could see that that's a dark gray film that's on the that lighter stuff that you see there in the very middle. That's underneath all the black. Now it's not underneath anywhere near the stuff that's around it. Now look at the stuff. So you see how it's grayish there, and then you see how that's that black blacky, chalky, earthy stuff that's on top of that, that's kind of on the outside of that. And then on the complete outside of that, you see how it's all like, has this mark all the way around the outside. Well, that stuff there was very like speckly gold kind of dust. It was very, very like speckly looking. It was actually kind of neat looking. And I almost wanted to scrape some in a little vial or something to just save it. But I was just like, when something like that happens to you, you don't think about that stuff. You just kind of get a little wigged out, and you just, especially because it was a business. So, but yeah, so you can see here where it's just not even possible for somebody to recreate those marks. You just can't do it, right? Like there's the way that's happening there. It looks to me as like when her tail smacked the wall there, it wasn't completely through. It wasn't completely through the portal, right? Like that's kind of like it's almost like it's halfway into the wall still, and halfway coming out to our side, into the doorway here. The one thing that really is really baffling to me, because this mark is different from the mark on the other side of the wall that's just on the inside of the door jamb on the other side of the wall there. It's still a lot like the same, but not exactly the same, and I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So if you see here in this mark here, that where she, came through the other side of the other side of the door, I don't know why that this mark is here, why this is on this side of the wall, because there's no footprints, there's nothing else over there. And the only thing that's over there on that side is this mark. So, and if you look at the swoop, and you look how that swoop is going up, and if you go back and you look at the other, now see, that's another thing too, right? Like her tail would have hit there on that spot, right? So you can see where it's heavier at the base of it in the beginning, and how it swooped away. But you also see all this other little speckly stuff that's coming off of here. And if you look at the other one previously, you don't see all the extra speckly stuff. It's almost like there's like her tail was like still whipping around through the other side. I don't really understand how their technology works, but you can still see that the heavier part of the mark on the wall is going towards the room, towards the karate school, and the lighter end is going away. So it's just like it's kind of coming away. And you see all that other speckly stuff there. It's like there's like a splatter, when her tail hit that part of the wall, when her first coming through to the dimension to the door on the other side, it like the tail just hit it like that, and then splattered some of the substance that she was bringing through before she came and unlocked my mind. It just splattered on the wall. Now here's the thing that I tell people, and I challenge people, recreate this stuff. First of all, that hallway is literally only about, 34 inches wide, because the door frame is, maybe smaller than that, because that hallway is no bigger than a door frame. It's only a few inches on each side, and then that's the hallway. It's not like it's coming from a big room. So if you only have that much of a room to work with, then obviously you have to be somewhere inside. It's just not possible. The angle that's coming from, which would be coming from the ceiling, by the way, because it's so high up, the angle, unless it's a tail that's whipping up and coming down, that's what I'm trying to say. So it's not even like a spot where it's down low on the wall and it's like somebody could just throw something and scrape it. And even so, there's not enough room to actually get the velocity to do anything to make that mark on those walls. Not in either one of those marks. There's just not enough room with just a door frame wide space, because you'd have to, whatever. I think you kind of understand, you get it. Now, when I was talking about the footprints, let me show you something real fast here. So you could see in this picture where I compare the footprints from my school on the door to the footprints from the Jersey Devil. So you can, and they call it a Jersey Devil. It's not a devil, whatever. It's a draconian. They're not devils. Mothman's not a devil. And then nothing happened to these people that was at this home that saw the draconian. It didn't hurt her. It didn't do anything to her. It just scared the shit out of them, right? They just got scared and they ran. And sadly, had she not ran away and not freaked out and maybe had acted differently, she may have been able to get some open contact, and things may have been, her life may have been completely different in a different way. But anyhow, whatever, that's neither here nor there, has nothing to do with my situation. So pretty much what I wanted to show is, hey, look, these marks are the same. You can tell that they're same. You can see how even the strides are even almost kind of the same width apart, so you can tell it's like even, the draconian that she saw there was probably about the same size as the one that came to my school. I don't know I don't think that they're the same one, but could be, I don't know. I have no idea about that. But however, the next picture I'm going to show you is this one. Now, after this happened, like literally that night, I could not sleep in a school, and my ex-wife said, hey, look, if you want, you can come stay with me until you get into another place or whatever. And I said, yeah. She's like, you're not gonna be able to sleep. I'm like, no, I'm not, because I'm like, it's not. I told her too, and she'll tell you. I said, it's not that I'm afraid, because if it wanted to do anything to hurt me, it would have hurt me in my sleep. And I never felt fear. I never felt afraid. I felt more of this like violation, like hey man, I'm sleeping. You could have woke me up. I'm open-minded. I would have, may have just been like, okay, go ahead, stick your tail in my skull. Probably not. I don't know. But it's just, that was what it was. That I was just like, I don't know if I'll be able to sleep there. It's just kind of strange, but there was all kinds of strange things that did happen while I was in that place for about a year. Actually, I was there for a year, a little over a year. And there were strange anomalies that happened there often. And I never was afraid of the things that were happening. Like, never was afraid. I just knew that something strange was happening there. And there's a couple of times that I heard stuff above me inside of there, because there was like an attic area up top there. And I would hear, people running around up there making noises and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, and I thought maybe some kids are getting in there. I talk about that earlier in this video. But so anyhow, as I looked online for, when I went to her house, the very first thing I did was get online, and actually she did too. We both looked all over to try to find more footprints that looked like that. And I finally found one, and this is the only footprint that I found. And so when I found this footprint, then I did as much research as I could to find out where it came from, and I couldn't find the actual person who actually posted it. But I did find a link to a YouTube video that was up for a little while, and I don't think it's up anymore. And it was a guy who was talking about this other person's experience with this footprint and talking about what happened to them. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, I need to get a hold of this person and find out who they are, which I did. And I'm going to show you the email when I talked to them. So you can see here that I got a hold of the guy. And this is, if you look at the date even, it's 11/17/17. That's funny. Because this happened in 2017, by the way. But you can, and this is the first time I really looked at and noticed the date. But there's the date right there. And this is on Facebook. I looked up the guy who posted the YouTube video and found out that, his Facebook, found his name and then got a hold of him. And you could see what I asked him here. I said, I need to speak with him, because earlier, the upper part of the message that I'm not showing there was when it's just pretty much the stuff me explained to him, hey, who did you get these? And he said, it's this guy. It's not, it wasn't me, it was somebody else. And you can see where I wrote here, I said, I need to speak with him. This is my karate school. One night when I was sleeping on the floor there, I have a video, and please do not share this pic with anyone. Now you see that in 2017, 11/17/17, that's crazy, 11717. But you can see that I said, please do not share this pic with anybody. That's the pic of the footprint on the floor that I sent to him. I did not want him to share that with anybody, because I was still covered. I didn't want anybody to know about it, because I was still, I didn't want my school to get shut down, even though I was moving to a new location. I didn't want them to, I didn't want any bad publicity for my new location I was moving into, which actually ended up being a bigger school, but whatever. So you could see here that I would try to keep on the DL. And so he said, I don't have his number anymore. It's been 4 or more years ago. So this guy, and I said, what was his name? And then he didn't answer me back. After that, he just broke contact with me. That he was very, very quiet about the stuff that he was saying. He didn't really want to talk about it. So I really ran into a complete dead end with this thing, which is funny saying dead end, because I ended up going back onto his page just recently, about 2 years ago in 2020. And guess what? This guy died in 2020. And I think it was 2020 or 2019. Maybe it was in 2020. I went on there and I left a message on his Facebook feed, and I rarely ever do Facebook, but I went on there and left a message, and then somebody put a message and said, oh, he died not too long ago. So now this guy's dead even. So I can't get any information at all about anything about the other person who has, and it's the same footprint. I'm going to go back to it real fast so you guys can look at it. That print is the best footprint of the same print that I have on my floor. So if you look at the prints on my floor, it's the same, it's almost identical. The only thing that you see there that's different is that little dent down at the bottom. That little dent is not part of the overall heavy lining of that footprint. So that could be from that Draconian's tail may have smacked the snow there as it was walking, and then the tail smacked down low next to where that footprint was. So if it was connected to that foot, you would see where it broke through. The snow would be broken, so it'd be one solid print there. So yeah, that's the only footprint I could find that was like the one that is like the Draconian. And so that actually gives us a better look at the way the footprint looks, the way their feet actually look. You can see, the 3 points there, the 2 in the front and the 1 in the back. It's a really good picture. It's a shame that the person, they hid with their information too, which is, you can see that's what I did in 2017 in that picture right there. I said, hey, don't tell anybody. Now, here's the thing. 2017, when this happened, everything else was happening that same year, right? Like there was all these, here you go. There was all these Chicago Mothman sightings that were going on, right? Like, and I'm not saying that this is a legit picture of the Chicago Mothman, but when you look up Chicago Mothman, this is one of the pictures that does come up. Now, and the thing is that when you do look at this picture, which is kind of funny because look at the feet at the end. Look how they're very, very small. You see how the feet down there? So this could be a legit picture. I don't know. But if you look at the feet at the bottom there, they're small. But then you look at the mass of the body, it's a lot bigger. So, if somebody was just kind of making up something here, they probably would make, why would they make the proportions at the feet and the back there are very, very bizarre. And if you also notice too, and I didn't really think about this till just now, look how you could see where the kneecaps are, because you could see how it's real thin, and then it goes down into that point down, and then they kind of come, and then it comes up into the body there. So that tells us that the knees, that's kind of where the kneecaps are. So I don't know, maybe this is a legit picture. I don't know. However, now if you look at the wings and see how the wings are protrude forward, because it's obviously moving in motion. So they don't have the wings kind of just straight out. They're just kind of moving in motion. Now the arms could be tucked in somewhere, right? So it's not saying that the wings are the arms, right? The arms on the Draconian may not be stretched out like Superman flying through the sky, but kind of tucked back in as their wings are doing all the motion as they're flying, kind of like way a bird would tuck its feet up into its, how some birds will tuck their feet up in, into the lower part, into the swell of their body, while their wings are doing the work, so their feet aren't kind of dangling, just hanging out there. And as you see, the wings are not going back to where they're hitting the legs, so that's the reason the legs are probably out. So I'm not saying that's actually a legit picture, but when you look it up, 2017, there was a mass amount of a whole bunch. There was actually 55 documented sightings of Mothman in Chicago the same year that the Draconian came to me, and we know that Mothman are nothing but Draconians. They're just Draconians, guys, and nobody says that they've ever been hurt or anything by them, and I wasn't either, and neither was the lady in the Jersey Devil, and neither was the people at Point Pleasant. So nobody's ever been hurt by them, but however, we get this stigma. In this next picture here, you're looking at that asteroid, which they said, hey, it's not an asteroid, it's actually an alien probe. They said it's a ship that they're saying most likely came from the Lyra constellation. Now, during 2017, I had this thing happening with the Draconian. All of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of Draconian popping up over Chicago, which is actually not far from where I'm at in Ohio. Like I think it was like a 4-hour drive or something. So it's not that far, especially if you're a being that can fly in the air, and especially if you're, teleporting through portals. Anyhow, now, I'm not saying that the one that came to my school came to Chicago too, but it just tells me that during that year in 2017 when she came to me, that there was a lot of Draconian activity, Alpha Draconians on Earth, like all over, especially in these areas. So that also the same year that they said, hey, look, we've seen, this is the first time that we've ever documented a object coming from another solar system into our solar system and coming towards Earth and then changing directions, giving that it's being directed by an intelligence being. And you could just do all your research on that yourself. So here's more evidence, more stuff that's going on with, alien intervention, alien interactions in that year. That was a big turning point for the science and astrological, I don't know whatever you call them, their community, because it started getting them buzzing and talking, because it's never happened before. They know all that stuff with the Mothman in Chicago, and then you see what happened with me. The next picture is where you can look up this YouTube video from Avi Loeb, and it's where he's talking, this Harvard professor who talks about, and that's probably the best person you should probably go and listen to, who talks about, the research on what they call Oumuamua, that they call it the scout ship that came from the Lyra constellation. So that happened in 2017. And also in 2017, just oddly enough, when the Draconian comes to me, unlocks my mind, when all of a sudden there's all these Draconian over in Chicago popping up all over the place, and then all of a sudden you have this big interstellar object that came from the Lyra constellation and came this way, and and say, hey, this is an intelligent ship, this is the first time ever this thing. All this stuff, by the way, guys, happened like towards the end of the year, all happened around the same time, right? And you seen when I sent that guy the message, and it wasn't the very next day. I can't remember exactly what day it was that how far away it was from when she came into my school, but look, you could tell it was 3 days after the eclipse, but you could tell like all this stuff happened like boom, 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 right around the same time. And then all of a sudden, in that same year, like after all this stuff is going on, the government obviously knew that that's what I try to tell you guys. Look, the government has been pushed into a position where they have to come clean. They weren't going to just come out and just say, hey, yeah, guess what? There's UFOs and stuff, and aliens coming here. They're not going to just come out. They had to been forced to do it. And so because they were forced to do it, because they're like, oh man, there's just shit going on like crazy right now, they came out and they let the Navy come out and say, hey, yeah, look, there are UFOs. And you can look up the videos on the gimbal and all kinds of stuff. That's all in the same year, 2017. Now, these videos weren't taken in 2017. They were taken throughout the years. But why would all of a sudden now, they've been holding on to all that footage for all these years since 2004 and stuff. But all of a sudden now in 2017, when all this stuff happens, now they're going to come out and the government's going to come out and start talking about it. This next picture here is, Commander David Fravor, which, by the way, he's from here in Ohio. By the way, Wright-Patterson Air Base is also here in Ohio, and I already talked about that. You can watch the video I did about that. But you can see here, this guy was on CNN. He was, this is not just some, look, the government's coming out and they're telling you, right? And actually at the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and put the Lou Alessandro part at the end of this video, where he says that, look, we have, exotic technology, right? Like he literally comes out and says and admits to it. That should be a mic drop right there, like I said before, because he's telling you that, hey, it's going on, it's happening. There's the aliens are here. And so is Commander David Fravor, because there's a video of him out there saying, look, there is nothing that can fly that we have in our inventory, and let alone that any human can survive that type of flight. And he talks about how these things fly not just in the air, but then they go into the water. So they're able to go multi, right, from air to water. And so people who are trying to say, well, that could just be a drone. What drones are we talking about that can fly? What device drone do you know that flies as fast as what they say it flies, was doing all that stuff that it was doing, and then going and then also go be subnautic? This doesn't make sense. There's no technology that humans can produce to show that they can do that naturally without having alien intervention, and teaching them how to do it by using whatever type of materials and stuff. And that's why the government's come out and telling you they're doing it now. And all this started in 2017, same year all stuff happened with me. And then, so here's a picture here. This is the last, I think it's like the last picture I want to post up here. And this is Lou Alexandro when he came out in 2017 on Fox News. So that's one of the things I like to show. I like to show that CNN, Fox, everybody was like, they're all on board. They were all talking about it because the government said, obviously they control the media. They're like, hey, we need to get this information out and just start, trickling it out to people before it spirals out of hand. And that's really what I think it really comes down to. So yeah, guys, look, I produce evidence. I show clear evidence. I break everything down. It's not like some of these other wacky dude jobs out there who just say that they are time traveling or say they're doing this or say they had all these alien experiences, but they have no tangible evidence at all. And they don't break things down and show you like a full timeline, things like I'm showing you here, right? Like it's a real thing. It really happens. And because of that, you already know what happened, what I went through all last year in 2020. And then that led up to what happened with 2021, and I went out to Alcor, and I'm going to talk about that stuff here in a minute. I'm going to give you, instead of showing a whole video, all that stuff, and showing a bunch of clips, I'm just going to break it down with you while I'm showing the footage while I was out at Utah. I'm just going to show you the area, what the area was like, and then I'll kind of give you a brief of the year, the way the year went down for me, with everything. Find out, hey, look, I'm connected to this Alcor star, which is crazy because the Alcor star, by the way, what you're looking at right now is the map, right? So this map is from out in Utah, and this happened like literally a few weeks after I went out to Alcor in Arizona. So then you can see that we went to Utah out here. So let me just show you real quick some of these pictures so that way you guys can actually see. So after I went to Alcor, which in 2020, I started piecing all stuff together. Alcor was very important, right? I'm like, this is crazy. This is very, like, it became like an important thing. Now, how is it possible that I talked about that in my very first video last year in 2020, beginning in 2020, and I was talking about how important it was, and throughout the year, like the Alcor thing became important. And then 1010 is actually, I think 1010 is actually the one that said, hey, that's the Alcor star. Or maybe it was a lady from Alcor. I think it was a lady from Alcor told us. And so then after hearing about the Alcor star, and then we went out to Utah, we weren't looking for the Alcor star, guys. Like, we weren't looking for it. I was invited out there to go find a portal. That was what I was invited for, to find a portal. Me and 1010 were invited out there to go find a portal because they were saying that aliens were coming in and out. They didn't know where they were coming from, but they were suspecting around that cave area, right? And then that's when the night before, because I said we have to be there for 72 hours. I'm like, it's, there's like these things that I know that I have to do, and I don't know how I know them. See, this is all part of what happened with the Draconian unlock of my mind. This is all this stuff. It's like even the whole thing with meeting the Cambodian dragon healer, right? And I'm gonna explain something really crazy with that in a minute that I pieced together today. So you can see here that the third day when we were there, and I, like, you've heard the story before. I told 1010, I said, you're the I found the portal. This stone is the portal. You're the navigator. You have to find a way in. I didn't say find a star. I didn't say that at all. I just said you got to find the way in. And she just immediately out of nowhere decided to look on her phone to see where the Alcor star was. It was like never a thing. And it just so happens it was directly right in front of me, right on that stone. It was 1 in a billion odds that everything would have lined up just perfect for that perfect moment. And remember all the stuff that I talked about previously with Alcor. And by the way, Alcor 172, because there's 172 abortions that happened, spontaneous abortions in 1972, the same year that Alcor was created in 1972, which also, it was the last year it was illegal to have abortion. So that 172 lined up with 2020 when I was doing research on Alcor, and they said that there was 172 people inside of cryostasis that have been cryopreserved. And I was like, holy shit, that number 172, the people that are inside these pods, now there's more in there now, it lined up with exactly with the spontaneous abortions when Alcor was created. So that's what got me on that journey. And then here we go. I went out to the Alcor company. They invited me in. I went through a whole thing with that. You guys should go watch that. And then she told me, hey, that's from the Alcor Star. And then when I found it's the Alcor Star, and then that became kind of didn't really become a thing really. It just was like, it just so happened to pop up here when we were doing it. So it was all just very pure, and it just happened that way. And I think that it's because this is what the Draconian unlocked my mind, showed me that, hey, look, you are this person. This is who you are. You're connected to this star. You are, a Alcor Star child. This is, and it gets deeper than that. And it doesn't make me any better than anybody else. It just doesn't. Because you already know the trials and tribulations, all the shit that I've been going through. So, and it hasn't done me with the humans, it hasn't brought me closer. It's driven me further away from them, which is a double-edged sword too. It can be good and it can be bad. Okay, so it is what it is. But so anyhow, so you can see that there. The next picture I'm showing you here, so you can see here's that door, here's the big stone. So you can see how big that stone is, right? That's the portal stone. Around that side there is how you get in, to go around it, to get into the little pathway that takes you to the cave where the cave-in is. But you can see the girth and how big and solid this stone is. It's massive, and it's standing straight up and down. It's perfectly standing there. And when we were putting our hands on the stone, the three of us, and I said, maybe we just all need to put our hands on it. Maybe we need to sing to it or whatever, or just try to meditate and try to get this portal open. I felt like the stone was falling over. And 1010 will confirm this. And if the gatekeeper was ever to come out and finally say, yeah, this is, what's going on. I kept telling them, I kept looking at them, I kept saying, stop pushing the stone. And they both looked at each other like, what is he talking about? And I said, quit pushing the stone. I swear to you guys, I thought the stone was going to fall over. So I was trying to be careful not to push too hard because I felt like it was falling over. I could feel it falling. And they looked at me and are like, we're not pushing it. We're not pushing it. They're like, it's not. And then later on, I realized oh my gosh, it wasn't that the stone, it wasn't like this big, I was like, the mass of this thing's not going to fall over at all. There's no way I could push it over unless I have superhuman strength at this point. It wasn't that. I was actually going through the portal, right? I think that if I would have been there alone, or if it was just me and 1010, I probably would have been able to go through the portal. We probably would have been able to walk through the portal. But they're not going to leave just anybody just to come walking up and just going in there. It takes a certain, you probably have to be, it's probably genetics that gets you in, right? You have to be some type of a DNA genetic code that kind of gives you maybe some type of access to certain doors. So I think that may be possible. By the way, like I said before, I don't know who my father is. Never met him. Have no idea. I don't know what my mom's. The story's always been kind of weird. So there's that. The next picture that you're looking at here is so that you can see that's the stone. So you see where it's at, and you look up above it. You can see you can see how high it would have came. And it goes up even further. So if it would have been, this stone would just perfectly fell here in this spot, it would have, how would it stand straight up? It's just what are the odds that it could just stay straight up there? It was almost like it was just placed there and stood up perfectly. But you could see how it looks like, now that you can actually see it there, it looks like it is a big door. Paint a door frame on there and you see a big door. And by the way, I think it's about 10 foot, maybe 12 foot tall. It's probably 10 to 12 foot tall. I will say 12 foot. I bet you it's 12 foot by 8 foot. It's probably 12 foot tall and 8 foot across. That would make sense. But anyhow, you can see the size of it. You can see how big this damn thing is. So it's a big ass. And behind that's where the cave is. The next picture here is where I'm showing is you can see up this, you can see how steep this is. Well, it's like that in this area, almost 360 degrees all the way around, except for a pathway that takes you out. And actually, if you look all the way up there, you can see me up in the, you can see me up there bending over. Now, I'm wearing camouflage gear, so it's kind of hard to see me. But if you see that, the kind of the black there in the part there, you can see that that's where I'm at. So I'm up there, so I'll put a little thing there so you guys can see. So I'm right here, and there's an opening at the top there to get down inside the cave, right? Like there's another way in. You know, there's a cave in at the bottom, but all the way up here is another way in, and there's a hole, but it's like you can kind of get in there and stuff, you know. And that's when I heard the big moving around, and I was just like, oh my gosh, there's something in here. And I thought, well, maybe this is it. The Draconians, reptilians, or whatever, they're in here, you know. And I was talking to them and singing and trying to get them to come out. And that's when I got this sense of, and that's when I first realized, hey, now I know it's my telepathy. I had this sense of something telling me, you're in the wrong place, you're looking in the wrong place. Like, this is not the door, this is not it. It wasn't something speaking to me in my mind saying, you're in the wrong place. It wasn't like that, because inside of there was actually a bear, which I thought it was a cat, because the gatekeeper was always talking about how there's a lot of big cats around here in this area, but she didn't really point out that, hey, you know what, there's also bears in this area too. It makes sense because guess what? The Alcor star is in the Bear constellation. So, and where is the Alcor star? It's in Alpha Draconia. So it's all part of the Draconian, it all connects. It all makes sense. Like it does, you know, as it was going on, everything, those things make sense now. So, you know, look, I'm standing there and I get this sense I'm being told, you know, not word from word, but being told that you're in the wrong spot. And I wasn't afraid. I was just like, okay. So I went back down the hill and I told Tintin, I said, I'm like, that's not it. That's not the way in to the portal, right? Which doesn't make any sense because that's the cave and that's where we thought the portal had to be. So that doesn't make sense for me to say this isn't the way in, because that's the only other way to get in the freaking cave without the cave in. So I come back down there, I walk around the big stone, I walk back to the cave in where the cave in is, and I'm like, this is all wrong. There's something, I'm like, because I knew, because it was the bear was talking to me, told me telepathy that that's not where I'm supposed to be at. And then as I walked back out and I looked at this stone, it was like a flash, like bang, it just hit me, just like it hit her to pull up her phone and see if the Alcor star on there. It was the same thing. It was just like, oh, and by the way, she also is a telepath too. And it could have been that when I said to her about, you know, you're the navigator, find a way in, it could have been that she was getting telepathy signals from the bear or whatever could have been there and told her, you know, at that moment, because she says she don't know why she did it either. We just don't know why the things that are happening that we're able to do. They just happen. Like we just happen to know things, and these things, you know, bear fruit. Okay, so that's how it works. It's weird. But also here, I'm going to show you one more picture. So if you see this picture here, you can see that this is the way it is around the whole cavern there. And it's like a nice little bowl area. So actually, you know, so it's kind of secluded down there. It's not kind of, it really is secluded. So anything could get in and out of there and not be seen by, you know, the naked eye easily. Like you'd have to come up to the top of this hill and look down in there, right? Also, it also explains that how is it possible that there's cows going up and look, the whole thing with the cows and all that stuff, we know that they've been there because we've seen the cow shit, like fresh cow shit, fresh. But we didn't see cows for 72 hours, 3 days that we were there. There's nothing around there that was like that. So I just want to show in this picture here so you can see the way it looks all the way around there. And that's just pretty much it. That's what I want to show there. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and let the video play at this point, and I'm just going to explain some things to you real quick, briefly, about, you know, the year of, this 2021 year and how, you know, all my journey, my whole journey, because I'm not going to be able to have time to post it up. So in the beginning of the year, I went out to Alcor, which I explained that, and you guys go back and watch that video and stuff. And at Alcor, I learned like a whole bunch of stuff and actually was able to go into the back area where they have the bodies, where the people are being cryopreserved. And while I was there was an anomaly that happened. Not just the fact that I was even invited in, but there was also an anomaly that happened because there was a scientist guy that was there who I said, oh, I won't record you. He said, it's okay, you can record me. And he's actually the one that led us into the cryo chamber. Like he went through and let us through, and I said, oh cool. And I even made sure that I told the lady, hey look, I'm gonna record. And and I said, I'm gonna make sure this is on record, and I did, and it was, and that footage disappeared. And there's something else too. At that time, I didn't know I had telepathy going on either. But, you know, now I think about it and I go back and I think, because I was like, it was weird because when I saw him, I knew him and I know that he knew me. And I don't think there'll ever be footage of him ever talking, because until the veil lifts. Because I'm 100% sure, well, I can't say 100% sure. I'm going to say 99% sure he was not human. Okay? Although he works there. And by the way, if you watch that video where I talk about Alcor and I talk to her about space travel, right? It is technology that they would be using to travel, to take people from Earth to other planets and far off planets and stuff, because you can freeze them and they won't miss any time from point of origin to destination. They will never miss any time as long as they're cryogenics. And we know that from movies and stuff like that. You know, that they talk about that stuff in movies. So here's a place that actually has that going on, which, oh, by the way, is called Alcor. So then after I go to Alcor, then I just told you the whole Utah story. So that was the second thing I went to. So then afterwards I went out to Utah, and then all that stuff happened, and you go and listen to all that stuff, the whole thing with the gatekeeper and how it was weird about, you know, stuff about my death and opening the portal. And then once we found the portal, then it was like, okay, hasta la vista, see you later, get out. We were very important up until the time we found the portal. Once we found the portal, the gatekeeper went and got on the phone, started talking to people and stuff, which obviously was the government, and they said, okay, shut it down, get him out of there. You know, it was like they said, and I was adamant about going back there to try to get in the portal, but at that point, the gatekeeper had no intention to ever go back there, and she made it clear that she wasn't going to go back over there. And she didn't want to let 1010 at all, even though 1010 kept saying she wanted to go over there. The gatekeeper was making it clear that she was not to go over there either. So she's like, yeah, you know, Radix, you can just go over there by yourself, which is off in the cut out of the way where you can't see from the road, the makeshift road that was out there where we're at. So it was just very, very bizarre. So then after I did that and I came back on that trip, then I ended up going out to, I think that's when I ended up going out to the Serpent Mound. So then later on in the year, I learned all this stuff about the Serpent Mound, stuff like that. So I was like, you know, because all this stuff with the reptilian, reptoids, draconian stuff, it's all that kind of same thing. Well, come to find out, the biggest, was it the Serpent? Yeah, Serpent Mound was next. The biggest Serpent Mound in the world, effigy, is here in America, and it's, by the way, here in Ohio, which, by the way, is where the Draconian was here, right? So I'm like, okay, now I need to go there. Oh, let me back up real fast. Look at, if you see, guys, see this video here, see the ground? See how it has that kind of same dirt? That same kind of dirt that was in my school, by the way. So anyhow, so that was one of the reasons why I said, hey, you know what, maybe I need to go out there. So anyhow, at the Serpent Mound, I go out there by myself, and I find, and I'm looking for the Alcor star, and I don't find the Alcor star on the mound. I find it like off and to the side, off in the distance. You can go watch that video. There's a couple of Serpent Mound videos I posted up. And then as I'm looking at the mound, I find inside of the mound, and by the way, I was led out there. I said, oh, you know, maybe I need to, because of the 172 thing, maybe I need to be out there about 217, about the time 217. So that whole 172 ended up being a thing there too, because that's when I ran into the Cambodian dragon healer for the first time, where I met him. And that's also where I found when I was looking for the Alcor star, inside of the mound actually is where the Hydra system is. It lines up, the star map lines up inside of the mound. It's impossible for the ancients, just regular humans back then at that time, to do it without having some extraterrestrial telling them that, you know, or extraterrestrial putting it there themselves, that, hey, you know what, this thing lines up through the earth. So the Hydra is actually inside of where the mound is. It's not possible. So it's actually alien influence that happened there, or alien did it themselves. So that was like a big deal. And then I ended up leaving this. I think I didn't find a portal until the second time I went out there. I think I left. Yeah, I left there, and then I came back to my area and everything, and then, which is about 4 hours. It's the distance from where I'm at here in Cleveland is exactly the same distance to the Serpent Mound, Ohio, And if I go the other way, it's exactly the same distance, believe it or not, to Point Pleasant, where the Draconian was there, which connects Ohio to West Virginia, which is just really bizarre how it's all kind of lined up. And, it's all perfectly in alignment with where the Draconian popped up with me at my school. So I came back here and then, made videos, whatever. And then I end up going back out to Serpent Mound because I said, hey, you know what? I have a feeling that there's a portal at the Serpent Mound. Right. And so in that time that when I went out there, I said, hey, there is an eclipse coming up. And the last time they talked about how that eclipse is very similar to the one that happened in 2017, which was 3 days after the one with me. So I said, hey, I need to be out there when that eclipse comes up. So I need to be there for about 3 days or whatever, 72 hours. So that's what I did. I went back out to the Serpent Mound and I was sick. And you guys can watch a whole video about that. And I get out there and I find the only little cave area that's underneath of the Serpent Mound. It's literally underneath the Serpent Mound, by the way. It's like at the edge where you goes into the Serpent Mound. Very, very bizarre. And because if you look at it, that's where it looks like it's going. It looks like it goes right into the mound. And as I'm down there, I find a thing. It looks like a serpent's eye. Like it looks like a serpent's eye. And you can see that in the video. In the video, you go back and watch it. And as I looked to see if the Alcor, I'm like, the Alcor star certainly cannot be here. And guess what? It was. The star alignment lines up on that same. What are the odds? Because here's the thing you guys gotta understand. Where it lines up there also lines up in a couple of other places that I end up going to as well. And I always have somebody to show up and document. And some lady was just walking by, I told her over, and I say, and she said, yeah, that's crazy. I'd never thought to look for anything like that. And I'm like, yeah, look, this star, the Alcor star lines up on that portal, And she's like, oh yeah, that's cool. She didn't really understand all of it, but whatever. So yeah, so then that happened. And when I was there, when the eclipse was happening that day, also, I went to pull, I got the idea, and this is what I'm saying, this is what's kind of crazy how these things line up. I never thought to put a crystal into the Serpent Mound until the first time I was out there and the Cambodian dragon healer was doing that. That's where I got the idea. I saw him doing it and putting the crystals in there, and I thought, when I go back out to the Serpent Mound, maybe I need to put a crystal in there too. So when I did, during the eclipse, that's also one of the things I wanted to do when I was out there, was put a crystal into the ground. And by the way, these crystals I have are very important. I don't want to explain why, but anyhow, so I take the crystal out of my bag. I go to and I pull my dagger out, which I just sharpened these daggers like a couple of freaking weeks ago. And so it's just crazy. But I pull the dagger out to open up the ground so I can put the this crystal in there, which by the way is a very large crystal. It's not a small one. It's a good size. It's like the size of my hand almost, and it is a quartz, and it's like a spear shape type. You know what I mean? So it's not a spear, but I mean like it's like a elongated, kind of like the way Oumuamua is shaped. Wow, it's crazy now I think about it. But anyhow, so as I pull the dagger out, I accidentally cut my thumb. I've never cut myself accidentally with any of my knives. I was just like, it didn't hurt. It just shocked the hell out of me. I'm like, what the hell? And so my thumb was bleeding, and you can see that in the video. And so I was like, well, maybe I have to put some blood on this. Maybe it's something telling me I need to put blood on here. So I did. I wiped blood on it, placed it in the ground, and then closed the ground back up. Now, I never would have thought to even put the crystal into the ground had I never met the Cambodian dragon healer, a month and a half before I went out there the second time, right? So I never even would have thought to do that. So that literally was cause and effect. All this stuff is cause and effect, because you cause and effect go back to, Utah with finding the star there. Cause and effect, you go back to the Alcor company. So it's all cause and effect. Everything lines up. And this is how I came to the conclusion about, I am part of this star system. I'm part of this Alcor star. And all that stuff started making sense. So then I ended up going, after that, I ended up going back out to, I went back home, and then I decided I was going to go to Wright-Patterson Air Base because it just popped up out of nowhere. I was watching Ancient Aliens, and I knew I had the day off. The next day I had the day off, so I'm always looking for things to do when I have a day off. And I was watching Ancient Aliens the night before, and they were talking about that the Roswell crash, and they said that the bodies and the bodies or the craft was actually taken to not to Area 51. And they go, but actually to Wright-Patterson Air Base in Ohio. And I was like, oh my God, that Wright-Patterson Air Base is here in Ohio, and that's where they took the bodies from the Roswell crash or that debris. They brought it here to Ohio. I'm like, what are the odds? I was like, okay, so I guess I got to go. So actually, I text the Capricorn lady that night, and I said, hey, I'm going to go out to this air base tomorrow, and then I also got a hold of the Cambodian dragon healer. I said, I'm going to be going past where you live at, and he invited me out to come to his house sometime, and I said, do you want me to stop by? And it was like a spur of the moment thing. He's like, oh my gosh, really? You're going to be out? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, well, you come up, so it was like literally the day before, right? So then I tell my boss in the morning that I'm going to go out to Wright-Patterson Air Base, and she goes, oh, I know Wright-Patterson Air Base. And I'm like, what do you mean you know Wright-Patterson Air Base? And she's 100% German. She moved here when she was 12 from Germany, and you can hear that on the interview with her. And so the whole thing with that, you guys can look all that up. So yeah, she grew up at Wright-Patterson Air Base. What are the odds? What are the odds? So I'm like, okay, so I got her testimony about that. And then we went out to Wright-Patterson Air Base. We go out there, we find the 444, which, by the way, 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. And you already know about the whole stuff with 12 and me, because I was born on November 12th, and I talk about that. So, the 444, Wright-Patterson Air Base is on Route 444. And by the way, Route 172 is all over Ohio. There's that 172. It's all over Ohio. And to get to the Serpent Mound, I have to take 72 to 71 to get out there. 172. It's all over the place. So as I'm out there and I'm leaving, and I got my last chance to go to Wright-Patterson Air Base after we went by there, and I'm like, I'm not really going to go inside because I just don't trust I don't think it's not a good idea. So as we're going past, and then the thing tells me that my last chance to go to Wright-Patterson Air Base, there's a sign there. It says you can turn down Route 444 to go to Wright-Patterson Air Base is your last chance to get there, right? So as I'm passing that sign to go down 444, there I look at my clock on my in my van, and it says it is 444, like it was 4 o'clock 44 minutes. Right at that very moment, I'm like, what are the freaking odds of that? I'm like, that's crazy. And besides, after the Draconian came to me, 444 started coming up a lot. Okay, so which is weird. It's not just the 172. It's also the 172 and the 444 are completely different things. They're different guides. After I leave there, and like 20 minutes later, 20 minutes later, I'm listening to Coast to Coast, and I go to, they were talking about, Wright-Patterson, or they were talking about the crash at Roswell. And so I decided to leave a message on there, and I said I was just at Wright-Patterson. I just went by Wright-Patterson Air Base, and I look on there, and it says your comment is number 444. And it's a good thing that the Capricorn lady was there, because she got to verify and see all that stuff. And by the way, she has seen a lot of weird stuff that's happened with me anyhow, and she talks about it in her interview, so you can hear that. So then after that, wow, this video is going longer than I thought. So then after that, all that stuff, and then I go out to the Cambodian dragon healer's home, and you can go watch the stuff on that as well. And we talked, and that was they're amazing people. So then, and without meeting him, I never would have did the whole thing with the crystal. So that's all cause and effect, right? So then I end up going back out to the Serpent Mound one last time. I go out to the Serpent Mound, and I go out there during the summer solstice. And something wild happened when I was out there on the third time I went out there back to the Serpent Mound. And as well as the fact that there was, during the summer solstice, there was a bunch of these archaeologists who are out there. They would not acknowledge, they acknowledged that, that it's crazy. They never knew that the serpent was inside the mound. And until like about a month ago, somebody sent a message, an email about it. And I said, yes, I'm the person who sent, because I sent the archaeologist of Ohio the email about the Serpent Mound having the Hydra constellation inside the mound, and they refused to talk to me. So obviously they're government employees, and so they were told not to talk to me, and they got really weird. By the way, I have telepathy, and there's a lot of things that I'm not going to tell you guys that I know. Okay, so there was a lot of stuff that was going on that I'm not gonna explain it. But anyhow, so I was just like, I actually clowned the dude on camera. I actually kind of was like, this guy, and I filmed him. I was like, this guy won't even acknowledge. I think he just acknowledged me that yes, they thought it was they never knew about it before, and that's a whole new thing. But yet I was filming, I said, but he won't say it on camera. And he like turns around and walks away, and like all of a sudden these two cops come walking up to me. Because there was a whole bunch of police out there. All of a sudden all these police started showing up out there. So yeah, there was that went on. The third time I went out to Serpent Mound. So then after the Serpent Mound, I end up going out to Chicago for the Mothman out there, because 2017 is when all the Mothman stuff happened. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to Chicago. So that's what I did. You guys can go watch the whole thing on that. And when I went out there, weird stuff happened when I was out in Chicago. Like weird things were happening. It was just bizarre stuff. Not only did I go out there to say, hey, look, I went out here from Chicago, and I ended up doing an interview with a guy out there who was there in 2017 that saw the Mothman, but also I went out to CERN, and Fermilab's out there, so you can see that in the video too. So this is all stuff that happened throughout this year. And while I was out there, and had I never gone to Fermilab, I never would have found out that the building for Fermilab, where the first CERN was, where the Hadron Collider is here in America, because they always talk about one in France and Switzerland. You never hear anything about the one here. They got shit going on here, guys. So had I never went out there, I never would have realized that the building for that Fermilab, it's exactly the same design as the Atari logo from 1972. And by the way, you should already know about the CERN in 1972. So that was a major thing there. Like I had to go there to see, like, hey, this is just like the fucking Atari logo. Like, what are the odds? And then after that, then I came back, and then the last trip that I took was, I think this was the last trip I think it was the last thing I've done, was I went out to the where the first Mothman sighting was, which was over in West Virginia, okay, which is where Point Pleasant is. So then you can watch the thing on that, and there was wild stuff that happened out there, just wild things. And by the way, the Hydra constellation ended up on the one mound, which was just weird, that just lined up there and was the one I get in, So yeah, so that's it, guys. Like throughout the year, all these stuff that's all connected to, the Draconian that unlocked my mind, right? Like all that stuff, the whole Alcor thing, it's in the Draconian star system. It's all connected. The whole thing's connected. And you could see it all throughout the videos throughout the year. And this is it. This is my final transmission. I'm done from here, and hopefully I'll get this video done before the end of the night.